Hello and welcome. My name is Joe Fonts. I'm a systems engineer for Cato Networks, and today we're going to be talking about the Go language SDK for Cato Networks. All right, let's get into it. All right, welcome aboard. As we discussed, this is a little bit of an introduction into the Go language SDK for Cato Networks. So this is something that I use pretty often for a lot of my automation and also underpins a lot of the Cato Network solutions, such as the Cato Network Terraform provider is built upon the Cato Go SDK, as well as things like the Cato Sentinel integration. So, outside of our internal uses, outside of public projects that are available, we wanted to make the SDK available for general use so that you can enable your own automations leveraging the Go language. So if we just search for Cato Networks Go SDK, we're going to be brought to the public GitHub page where we have an installable module for Go that you can leverage in your own code examples. So if we go to, for instance, this is the module that we're going to want, GitHub, Cato Networks, Cato Go-SDK. If we go into if we create a directory for our example over here, according to Go instructions, we got to create a module. And then we are going to go get and the name of the SDK over here and the location. So once this is installed, we'll be able to leverage this SDK in order to communicate with Cato Networks. So if we go back to our repository over here, there's a directory called examples that contains various scenarios that you can run through in order to integrate your code with Cato. Now, we're going to be putting together some kind of deeper examples of this in future videos that's going to go through, how to search for specific information, specific materials, how to do both simple and more complex updates, what are called mutations in our API. But for today, we're just going to go through some basic examples so that we understand how to run at least the examples that are in our public examples repository. So in here, if we go to, list, internet firewall rules, this is a read operation. We're going to be able to perform this task. If we look, there's one file in here, main.go. If we copy this, and this is just using, simple copy and paste from what's available, and we create a new file in this directory, and we're just going to call it main.go. We're going to save it. We're going to see that there's two pieces of information that we need to provide. One is the Cato API key as an environmental variable, and the other is the Cato account ID as an environmental variable. And as a reminder to viewers, one of the things that we don't want to do is to save any credentials as static entries in a source code file. So we don't want to put our credentials in our code ever. We always want to put it in some type of ephemeral storage when it's being leveraged by code. So we can use environmental variables, for simplified tasks like this. So what we're going to do is we need to set this value for the Cato account ID. So in Mac and Linux environments, all you have to do is export the name of what you're setting and then the value. If you're using a Windows environment, you can set it in the environmental variables app, or you can use like $env : and then the name, however you want to do it. There's a multitude of options. But in this one, I've set my account ID, and I've also already set the API key, so we can kind of get going here. In this directory, I see that my main.go is saved. And then when I did the go get and the go mod install, I, populated these files of the go.mod and the go.sum. So now that I've done that, we have our credentials set in this terminal. We have our source code provided. I can run it. So go run main.go. And what this will do is this will query the environment in my account and ask for all of the internet firewall rules. Now, this is a lot of data that's been returned. This is all in JSON format, so you can pipe it out to a file and review it yourself, or you could use something like JQ directly inline to parse out that data and give it to you in a readable format. So this is a very simple way where we could just copy and paste some stuff around to be able to at least list our internet firewall rules. if there's if you want to run through a multitude of different examples, in a separate directory, what we can do is clone the public repository. So if we just go to code and then copy this over here, the URL, and this is public, so you don't need credentialing for it, we can do a git clone, and then that location, that will take all of the code from the repository, bring it down to your environment, and now we can go into the SDK, see everything in here, go into examples, and have direct local access to all of those examples so that we can run through these things in our own availability, in our own environment. So we've set our environmental variables. We have local copies of our examples repository, and like I said in the next video, we're going to look through more complex read operations when we do what are called query operations, and then in follow-up videos we're going to do both simplified mutations as well as more complex mutations. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.